Hi, welcome to the Federal IT Efficiency Summit hosted by GovCIO Media and Research. I'm Jordan McDonald, staff writer, and today I'm joined by Jennifer Franks, the director of the Center for Enhanced Cybersecurity and the acting director of the Analytics Foundry at the Government Accountability Office. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Jennifer, the Government Accountability Office is an incredibly important agency with working with cybersecurity, with federal agencies. What are some of the, cybersecurity is a really challenging initiative. What are some of the hardest recommendations that you give to agencies?
It's a good question. So for the Government Accountability Office, we've been citing that cybersecurity is a high-risk, prevalent area to focus on since 1997. And looking at those, we issue a new high-risk report every new term of the Congress. And with the four major challenge areas, we've been seeing recommendations across each of those areas that are really sometimes difficult to implement because of the way organizations are designed and staffed. So the first challenge area really looks at effective strategy and oversight for cybersecurity programs and thinking about the workforce, the supply chain, all of the new risks that are imposed upon our environments. The second challenge area really focuses on securing the federal information systems, and we have a lot of vulnerabilities every day coming at us and really needing to be incident ready in case something happens. The critical infrastructure is another area where we're looking at how we can work with our industry partners to further secure our information systems and then protecting our privacy and sensitive data, because all of the systems across various federal agencies have their own criticality of information that they need to protect. And we need to have those necessary recommendations implemented so that we can do so.
Mm-hmm. And, I'm not always seeing that these agencies are successful in implementing these recommendations. But help me understand when they are falling short, where? What are these problem areas for them?
Good question. We see some of everything. We start with the FISMA, so the Federal Information Security Modernization Act that revised in 2014. And FISMA says you need to have a cybersecurity program structure that is managed by the Chief Information Officer. And then that Chief Information Officer can designate senior leadership to carry out some of the cybersecurity roles and responsibilities across the agencies. And there's a plethora of ways to do that, of course, but starting at the leadership level and looking downward into all of those folks that are designing and building and protecting and maintaining the configurations of your systems, we're definitely seeing where there's some gaps in those areas across different federal agencies. So when you're thinking about standing up an institution and making sure that your computing environment is protected, you have to have the necessary people in place to then look at the necessary controls that you need to really further implement to just manage some of those vulnerabilities that are coming at you.
And let me ask a follow-up leadership question. Outside of the technical side of things, when we talk about implementing cybersecurity, zero trust, which I definitely want to talk about as well, on the leadership side of things, the culture around cybersecurity, how is GAO working towards addressing that and helping federal leaders understand that, you are the front line of helping and understanding and driving the cybersecurity change and helping them understand, here's how we move the culture forward?
That's a very good question, and I do work with federal agencies all the time. After they get over the initial shock that we're there to conduct yet another audit review, whether it's by request letter from a congressional committee or a piece of legislation, we're just here to help, right? We're here to just point out some of the deficiencies that you might have had on your blinders and not really cognizant of. And we really want to improve the efficiencies of how your services are perhaps working. So once we get in through that, organizations really are receptive to us really coming into their environments and looking at, the policies, the procedures of what it is you're doing, but the implementation and the development to the actions of how you're doing what you say you're doing. So really bridging that gap. One of the four components of the Center for Cyber that I do lead is external advisory. So we do work with federal agencies. Even next week, I have a committee of folks going to help an agency to look at the how and the what to literally environment safe perspective of your computing environment and really looking at the what it is we do, how it is we do it, and how we can help them to get to their next level without a lot of people that could be in place.
And so understanding cybersecurity, leadership, that culture change, but also zero trust. We're hearing a lot about that as well.
I like zero trust.
I want to ask about some of the hurdles to implementing zero trust that you're seeing at agencies, and how, whether it's with interoperability or legacy systems, how you're going to agencies and saying, like, hey, this is how we create a secure cyber environment, a holistic one, and part of that is zero trust.
Absolutely. So zero trust, yeah, that was that latest buzzword that we've been talking about for a few years now. And I do love, looking at how agencies can further implement some of the security measures, taking away that just focusing on the perimeter access controls and really looking at your attribute-based controls for every single user, every single device that is inside of your network, and really just not trusting anything. Because like I said, with thinking about incidents, we have to be ready for the what ifs, when it could happen. And zero trust is really taking us to the next step of being ready to do that. Where I'm seeing in federal agencies, and we've done some work with this at GAO, is you can't protect what you don't know you have. So starting at the inventory and really assessing the what is and what type of data is residing in your network, and then who has the access that they need for those different types of data sets and entry points. So really looking at the different pillars that are outlined by NIST and CISA, and really looking at the what is to the how we need to implement. Where agencies are falling short is the budget. We have a lot of things that are happening for us at one time, and often when new rules and regulations come out, they could be in the middle of a fiscal year, and the fiscal year funds have literally been planned out 3-4 in advance. So you have to institute some new policies and procedures, and the tools and services that you have in-house may not be appropriate to the what is for where you need to go. So really looking at, every agency has their own criticalities of what they can do and what they can financially support. So everyone is having to really assess where they are, what they have, and they can in-house have some specialties of, exciting some more interest in really escalating the security controls, or do we need to procure some things? And that's where some of the gaps are.
And so thinking about these cybersecurity gaps as a whole, understanding that these directives can come from the top down, but they don't get implemented from the top down. The CIO is not physically going and securing all these systems themselves.
Right.
And so understanding this is really about the people. How are you seeing any effective strategies that federal agencies can use to recruit, retain, and then even upskill existing talent to understand, here's how to implement zero trust, here's how to build a secure cyber environment?
That's a good question. And I think starting with the upskilling is what's really useful for a recruitment tool. Because, folks, cybersecurity is exciting, right? Well, at least I find it very exciting.
I find it exciting.
And it's not trying to be cheesy, but every day is a new day. And we're a researching entity. Like, you have to really stay on the cutting edge of what's to come and why it's impacting and the vulnerabilities that are escalating from around the globe. So when you're recruiting and you tell people, hey, you can come in at this position, but you have the potential to do all of these different areas of cyber and even upskill to continuously learn and develop and get certifications, that's really a tool worth enhancing in your organizational approach to recruiting and then even retaining the talent. Obviously, we're on the cutting edge of new technologies. We can't ever stop talking about AI, quantum computing is on the horizon. So when your talent is coming in and they may have their own specific areas of focus, knowing that they can take additional educational steps to increase those proficiencies, you could really get some good talent.
Absolutely. Jennifer, thank you so much for the work you do, and thank you so much for joining us in this interview.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Of course.